Well, good morning, everybody. GM, welcome to another edition of Wealth Wednesday. Happy you're all here. Let's get to work. And a lot of great momentum is being started by a lot of people for selling tickets, for getting the butts in the seats, which is ultimately what we're here to do. That's how a difference gets made for others. It's how a difference gets made for us. So, butts in seats. Let's make it happen. That's what Snyder and the crew are relying on us to do, right? We're the marketing arm. We're the branch that does the customer finding. We're not product development. We're not accountants. We're not developers. We're marketers. So let's market. GM, some of you haven't seen in a minute, so great to see you here. I want to give a big shout out to Randy Pertler for his Renatus review. If you guys haven't spent a minute on the dashboard, there are some updates. So the mobile home parks class is also up and ready, available for your viewing pleasure. And congrats to the top 10. This week it's Richard Stock, Marion Seta, Dennis. We got Kate out of Idaho, Tracy from the Utah team, Scott Green out of Lehigh, Jennifer from the Utah team, Aaron from Team Utah, Becky, and Nate from Team Utah, and can't forget about the East Coast, Jerry coming out of Jersey. Well done, guys. Well done. Okay, in addition to that, there's also this new promo video to blast out to everybody. Pardon me. All right, now we're cooking. Okay, so some of you are brand new. I want to show you something. Here's what you're going to do to be able to access the online tool for the marketing so that you can get butts and seats. You're going to come over to the October calendar. Okay. Now, a few of you, Fox, Namora, who else is here? Zolan, Buckholtz. All you guys need to remove your events from around this event, because obviously we want everyone to focus on the E3. Now, there's two events in the E3 calendar. We got the general admission and we got the VIP. When you come over to general admission, you will see it is right now $197. Okay. The early bird expires September 24th. Then it'll go up 25%. So save yourself some money now, get all in. And when you buy your ticket, then things start to form around your schedule instead of you hoping that the schedule is going to stay open as you get closer. Okay, so from here, what I want you to do is then you're going to click on this share button on the top right. Click on the copy URL. Now, depending on your browser, if you want to view it, sometimes you could just put it right in your next tab. Others of you will have to open up a private window because of your settings in order to view it. Meaning it'll just keep logging you into your back office instead of showing you this customer-facing version. Okay, so you see, because I grabbed my link, that it has my name up top. And then here is that same video that was on the homepage. But there's no way to share this video from here, but you'll share it from the calendar. And this is where people can interesting, copy link and thumbnail. What is this? Does it still work? No. That's funny. Okay. 113 days, counting down. Before you know it, if you are one of those people that has a goal of making money in October and November from Renatus sales, if you keep this top priority, you'll see it every day. If you think, oh, I'll get to it in a little bit, before you know it, it'll be 13 days left, and before you know it, there'll be 3, and then we'll be there and it'll be over, and you won't have any guess because you never paid attention. There will be people like Mitch, like Nate, like Scott, like Tamara, like Bobby T, that are going to make a boatload of money on this weekend because they're thinking about it every day and building for it every day. So the VIP is $500. So clear the filters, go over up to October. And what I recommend you do is just take these 2 links. Oh, what did I do? Take these 2 links and just put them in your text, put them in your notes or something so you can send it quickly. You don't need to load Helios. Come over to the calendar, click 45 things to be able to get the link. Just grab the link, save it to your clipboard or in an email that you can constantly forward to people. Okay, come back over to October. Let's look at the VIP. VIP. All right, so with the VIP, very limited seating. Very limited seating. So what comes with the VIP ticket is you get to sit up front. You get tables. Right now, the general admission seating is just chairs. Trying to maximize space. Also trying to make the VIPs feel like VIPs. So, yeah, we'll talk on Money Monday about when and how to buy your guest a VIP ticket and the best ways to make sure that you make money while doing it each and every time. Okay, so in addition to sitting up front, getting tables, you also get networking luncheons with the instructors all 3 days, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Yep. And then also on Wednesday, there's the welcome reception and touring Renatus HQ, meeting leadership team and everything else. That's Wednesday night. Now that's open to everybody, not just VIPs. So when you're traveling and you're coming in early, plan on coming to the Wednesday night reception. I think it's at 6 o'clock and goes to about 9. Meet and greets, pictures, promotions, get a new, profile pic for all of your social media profiles. And then remember what I was saying yesterday, get everybody's phone numbers, get connected, add a millionaire to your phone book every month and a billionaire to your phone book every year. Okay, so same thing here. Share, top right, be copy URL. That URL is only so many characters, very few characters. So it's a nice short link. When you hit enter, it's going to make the big long back office .renatus, the whole giant link. So when you go to share it, my suggestion is you share the very short link that you grabbed. Okay, so I'm going to text that to myself right now. So I just have them, and then when someone asks, I'll just pull it out of the text. So there's that. Send to myself. Boom. Okay, exciting times. So you got to ask yourself, this summer, what are you preparing for? What are you preparing for this summer? Does everyone know about the story of the ant and the grasshopper? The ant and the grasshopper. Why is this not loading? Who knows about the ant and the grasshopper? Let's see if one adult in our group does. Not me. Thank you, Celeste. Me, Heidi knows. Okay. It was a good Pixar film. Nice. Yeah. That was A Bug's Life. A little bit different. Okay, filter's cleared. Let's go back over. Essentially the same story. Okay. What are you working on this summer? I mean, just do the thing I told you to do and grab my own link, put it in my text so that I can send it to all of my interested peeps. This is the general admission ticket link. There we go. Okay, it's working. It's working. GM, GM, GM. Good morning, everybody. We're just going over how to access your private registration link for the E3 Summit, because as a member of the marketing branch of this organization, it is your job to put butts in seats. Butts in seats. That's your job. Watch classes, butts in seats. Okay, so that's done. That's done. Get this out of here. Get that out of here. There we go. Sweet. Okay, story of the ant and the grasshopper. Real quick. Just a quick little. What are you working on this summer? Because whatever you work on this summer is going to dictate the life you have in the winter. Now, we are going to talk literal seasons as well as metaphorical seasons of life. Okay? Because sometimes your summer could last a decade and your winter could last a decade. Or maybe if you do it right and you prepare, it might feel like your winter only lasts a week or a month. Compared to these super long summers. Now you can have an economic summer and an economic winter, social summer and a social winter, a political summer and a political winter. Same thing with your health, your relationships, summer and winter. What you work on in the summer will determine what you have in the winter. So, you know who's a good example of that? The ant. The ant, an incredible creature. The design of an ant, so efficient. And when you look at the ant, you see that it never gives up. You put a wall in front of it, it'll go around it, over it, it'll figure it out. It won't just sit there and fuss. Ants have a mission, and it doesn't matter what time of the year, they're going to stay focused. What are they doing all summer? They are digging, they are gathering food, they are building, they are storing up resources. The grasshopper, another one of nature's fine designs. It's an incredible little creature. And it gets psyched out by all the green. Sees the green leaves everywhere and thinks, what's the big rush, funny ant, right? It's sitting up there on its little leafy hammocks, looking down, watching all the ants every day, sun up to sundown, just building, constantly working. And the grasshopper says, what's the big deal, man? Look at the sky is blue, the leaves are green. Why are you stressing? The ant pays him no mind. Then fall comes, and the leaves start to brown. The clouds start to become more prevalent in the sky, and there's much less to munch on for the grasshopper. Now, the ant's not worried. The ant didn't skip a beat. The ant continues. It doesn't matter, rain or shine. The ant will work. Well, now it's wintertime. No more food to gather. No reason to go outside. Maybe it's covered in snow. The ant has its house completely full. Friends and family completely full. Food stacked to the ceiling in the ant house. It doesn't care, it doesn't mind how destructive or cold the winter is because it's prepared, it's safe, and it's abundant because it thought about winter all summer. And mistakenly, the grasshopper thought about summer all summer. Now, the grasshopper thinks, oh my God, my life is over. I'm in wintertime, I'm unprepared, this is awful. And now the grasshopper is thinking winter all winter. But you know what the ant thinks? The ant thinks about summer all winter. Okay? Preparing again, planning, and doesn't get distracted with the temporary now of the situation. The ant is thinking summer all winter. So when it's cold and a little more isolated and you don't get to do much, the ant doesn't get depressed. The ant's not worried. The ant is thinking summer all winter. Eyes on the prize, abundant mindset, completely focused. So, are you the ant or are you the grasshopper? It's summertime, baby. Lake Day was yesterday. We got 4th of July coming up. We got parties all week. Things to celebrate, honor to give, love to spread, but then, of course, customers to find. It's time to work. And so, what kind of summer are you going to have? One where you think about summer all summer? Because then you know what's going to happen in your winter. You're going to be thinking winter all winter. You get psyched out. You become depressed, become worried, unattractive, dare I say repulsive. Customers don't want to be around you if you're thinking winter all winter. So, be the ant. Prepare. Don't get distracted by the grasshoppers that say, come and play. It's so much fun. What are you so worried about? They will be the ones begging, knocking on the door in the wintertime. Can you let me in? I see you're having a good time. Do you have any extra? And then, of course, as ants, if the grasshoppers come and knock on our door in the wintertime, we will let them in because we are abundant. We will let them in. We will lecture them, of course. Hey, don't think winter all winter next time. But that's one reason why we practice, why we work, why we store up all this value is so that we can make people's lives around us better and be responsible, not just hope that someone out there is going to print up enough money to make some social program that's going to improve my life. Because you know that doesn't work. Short-term, temporary welfare, it's a fantastic program. Very responsible as a society. Long-term welfare, destructive. So, anyway, be the ant. Be the ant, be the ant. Everywhere you can. With your health, your wealth, your finances, your relationships. And that's my story for you. Okay. Well, let's get into this. Wealth Wednesday. On Wealth Wednesday, for those of you who are brand new, we get to hear from a man named Daine Clark. And he's one of the most productive, focused, ant-thinking people I know. When he first joined us, he was just sitting in the audience looking for a possibility. He wasn't sure if it was going to be real estate or something else, but he knew that as his family was growing, his first baby was on the way, he knew he didn't want to work 55 hours a week at a retail store, hoping that he could make a life from that. He needed something with a lot more assurance, business ownership and real estate investing. So Mitch Nelson, who was going through a marketing challenge that we had designed at the time, contacted his warm market, just like you've heard us tell you a million times. Contact your warm market. So he did. Daine was on that list. Daine showed up. Daine saw the opportunity. Now, part of our brains think, wait a minute, is this real? Can I really do this? Is this possible for me? And between him and his wife and their ability to see a better future for themselves, they said, we're going for it. and they did. They set a goal in their first year to do rental property, and over the next 10 years to gain 10 rental properties into their portfolio to steward, to pass on to their family. Well, he messed that up. He messed that up in a big way. He did 10 within 3 years, and then just kept going from there. He started doing 10 a year, and then 10 a quarter. I don't know if he's done 10 a month yet, but I know he's done 10 a quarter. And he's just been nonstop studying, improving, practicing, and teaching, being able to transfer knowledge, asking questions, helping people copy what he's doing so that they can get the result because of the abundance mindset that we have here. This is the best place to learn real estate investing, honest and ethical financial models, and make a difference for yourself. And so he went and marketed, built up a big team, doing the marketing side, doing the real estate side. And today he is living a life by design. He's healthier and wealthier, and he helps people in his network all around him. And of course, every Wealth Wednesday, he joins us to share knowledge, answer questions, do some real life scenario, and run numbers with us and just celebrate life. It's a beautiful thing. He just had a baby last month, so congrats to the Clark family. Let's give a big warm welcome to our trainer for the hour, Mr. Daine Clark, GM. GM. How you doing, Daine? Been working like an ant. Good for you. All right. Well, Daine is attempting to connect. He's in the backwoods on some prairie out in Idaho. You know, they got Starlink all over the world now. But Daine, we don't see you. We don't hear you. Is anyone else here, Daine? Or is it just me? I see your camera's off. I mean, you've allowed your microphone and camera to be turned on and broadcast, but we don't see you. Hmm. Hmm. What could it be? Daine, you might need to leave and come back. Okay, so while he's figuring that out, we were recently talking with Tamara, and a lot of you who have been coming to our Wealth Wednesdays, which you should never skip a Wealth Wednesday because we compound, we build on last week's conversations. So put it as a reminder in your calendar, save the link in the Zoom so you don't need me to send you a link. It's just a pop-up on your calendar, and join every Wealth Wednesday. So Tamara Book has been the last couple months saying, I'm going to copy Daine. Right. Not everybody wants to do the exact same methods as the trainers that we talk about, but Tamara found the trainer she likes, Daine's style, so she's going after it. We've been listening to the coaching. She's been taking the action. I know a bunch of you have, but not as publicly as Tamara has. And so she's got a few people now that have asked for her real estate services. They need to solve a real estate problem. She wants to add an asset to her portfolio. So we're going to talk about the honest and ethical, low risk way for Tamara to keep building and going on momentum with this deal. So Tamara, can you come out for a minute and update the group on how you found the deal, what's working, and what you need help with, and let's see what we can do to work together on that.
Yeah, sure. So I have been calling and having all the conversations like Daine says all wealth is created through conversations. And there's a couple agents who I have relationships with. This one particularly has sold one of my flips. So he was one of the first people I had this conversation with. So long story short, I've had this conversation with him a few times because I wanted to make sure he understood what I was doing. And lo and behold, he sends me a text yesterday. It says, and I may have someone for you that wants to do the program we talked about. He has credit challenge, but wants to purchase a home, and he's a truck driver. And I had a quick conversation with him about it. It sounds like he makes good money, well, decent money. Yeah, so I'm waiting to get on a phone call with him and find out what the deal is with his credit. As far as I understand, it's not terrible. It's like in the 600s or something. So this could be my first Daine Clark strategy.
Cool. Cool. And that's the thing, folks. We've all heard the phrase, it's not who you know, or it's not what you know, it's who you know. That's kindergarten. The next level from that is not what you know, it's not who you know, it's how they know you. And these new people that Tamara has reached out to, how they know her is dictating what opportunities come her way. Not what she knows, not who she knows, but how they know her. And so it's the same thing for all of you. Have you curated and thought and been intentional about how the people in your network know you? Do they know you as the auto repair man? Do they know you as the roofer? Do they know you as the sound guy? Or do they know you as the real estate investor that solves very difficult problems and makes everyone a lot of money? Because that's one reason why people keep coming back to Daine and this method is because everybody wins. Everybody can maximize their profits with this process because it's honest and ethical. Upfront, full disclosure. So that's why it's working for Tamara. She changed how these people know her, or just added more people to her network. And so curating how they know you. I'm a real estate expert. I'm a real estate problem solver. Like a bunch of you have named a business, right? Because you went through the tax class and we told you what to do, name your business. But you're still not acting like the CEO of that business or the rep of that business. So take that to the next level. And testing.
Haha.
Welcome.
I don't know what's going on, but turn it off, turn it back on, and it works every time.
Well, right on. So yeah, thanks for being here. Happy Wealth Wednesday. 4th of July is coming up, just a few days. What a time to celebrate. And right before you jumped on, I was talking about the ant and the grasshopper and how you are a very good ant. So
do tell.
Well, long story short, the ant thinks winter all summer, and the grasshopper thinks summer all summer. And gets psyched out. And then by the time winter comes, he's ill-prepared. And then all he can think about is winter during winter. He gets depressed, can't see opportunity, and he's psyched out. While the ant is thinking summer all winter. Hanging out in the bunker, it's got plenty of food, family's safe. They're not worried, they're planning about the next one. And so be the ant and think about the winter during summertime. Don't get psyched out with blue skies and green leaves, or you will be caught in the snow. So
I believe that. Enjoy it, yes. But always preparing for the next. Love it.
So Tamara's been thinking like an ant and putting some work in, and people are now starting to bring her some deals. So she's got a potential buyer with a decent credit, good job, but still can't fit in that qualified box. So, so go ahead, Tamara.
Yes.
Yeah, so Daine, I would love to. So I got it. Yeah, like Michael said, I don't know if you saw, but I got a text from an agent that I have been having this conversation with a couple times. And yeah, so he said, I have a guy, he's a truck driver, he makes decent, and for the area he's in, he makes decent income, he has an okay credit score, he has a credit challenge. I think that's why he can't get an immediate mortgage. So all that to be said, the agent wants to make some money, the guy wants to buy a house, and I want to do a deal. So I would love to know, like
okay.
Like,
Love
so
it.
maybe we could do it like real time. I'm supposed to have a conversation with him. So what are your first steps? Like, what do you do? How do you qualify the person? I guess there's some details that I haven't quite gotten to.
Yes, I'm just pulling up my iPad because I have a feeling we're gonna go there
So
today.
everyone should be taking some notes here because this is the workflow. This is the process in step form, not just idea form.
Yes. And if we want, I'll even like do my pitch. It, I mean, it's literally what I say to people, and to date has I don't I haven't even looked at this in a long time, so I'm curious. Let's see. I wonder if my new system has already built me oh, let's see. Oh, I don't think I've built it in yet. Down payment. Nope. All right, I've been working on a brand new fancy schmancy system, and I haven't built in all those parameters yet, but if I were to guess, the down payments collected, like deals done, dozens, down payments collected. In fact, here, I wonder if I can do this, and just like manually down payments collected. Make sure all the ones that we didn't do are zeroed out. Yeah. 3,100,144,000 in down payments collected in this exact system. Contract for deed. I'll go buy a house. I'll sell it to you, seller financing. So $3,144,000 collected.
Oh, guys, there is so much money out there. I mean,
Crazy.
it's not nice to say, some people tell me, but if you're poor, it's your fault.
And then just out of curiosity, here, let me zero out the ones that we didn't do. And then let's grab all these ones. So houses bought, dozens of them. So $15 million in houses bought, $3 million in down payment.
It's a healthy ratio.
Monthly payment. Let's see. Cool. Yeah, this is perfect because it does not include the ones that we didn't do. 100,000, 112,960. I'm going to round that up to 113,000 per month in
Gross.
revenue. Yeah, gross revenue.
Good job, dude.
I wouldn't be able to do the net profit as fast. This is just grabbing from a sheet basically, manually doing the math, but healthy.
Yeah. I mean, some of yours are 50%, some are 10%. So we can go in the middle.
Yeah.
Say 20%.
Yeah, I will say this, that in this system, I don't even do the deal unless I'm making a 30% cash on cash. If I put 30,000 in, ah, crap, now I have to do real math. 30, if I put 30,000 in and my minimum is a 30% cash on cash return, so 30,000 times 0.3, that's 9,000 divided by 12, $750 a month. If I put 50,000 into a deal, that's 1,250 a month. If I put 25,000 into a deal, that's $625 a month. So whatever that is, that's my minimum. If I were to guess, my average is over 30. It's probably like 35. And that's when I throw out, because I've got one that I'm making like, it's like 1,000% return.
Mhm.
And it's not one of those that's like, oh, I put in like $1,000 and I'm making, you know, $100 a month or whatever, a few $100. Like, no, I put in very minimum and I'm making like $1,300 a month or something like that. It was, in fact, it's one of my highest cash flowing dollar per dollar deals. And I only had to put in like $1,000 or something like that. And so it was like 1,000% return. I threw those out of the mix to anyway. So Tamara, what questions do you have And like I said, we'll do whatever you want.
Awesome. I'm just grabbing my notes because I from the whole year that I've been taking. So I guess what's your first step is the hold on, I'll get my camera in a second, Michael. What's your first step? Like how do you qualify? How do you and I think we've had this conversation, but how do you qualify the person? Like what's your first step? Like let's just
Yeah.
simple.
Well, you've already done it, actually. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
what is the next step from here? I think I saw a text and they basically said, "Hey, I think I've got somebody." Um, so the two main things that I ask is, okay, you think you've got one. How much do they have to put down?
How much? Yeah, I've asked that. Okay.
And what kind of purchase price range do they need to be or are they looking at? Like what price of a house are they looking for? Um, so what's the purchase price and what's the down payment?
But
And I make
realistically, doesn't the down payment for this plan determine their purchase price?
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I make sure that I'm telling like the agent, for example, hey, I have, and this is just a personal preference of my own, that nobody has to follow this. This is just Daine Clark. In fact, my first deals were not this. My first deals were like 10% down, if I remember right. And then I was like, yeah, like let's that's like that's like a glorified tenant. Let's find people with 15% down. Um, and did that for a while. And then to date, as of 2025, I don't accept anything less than 20% down. In this exact scenario, there are times that I have done 10% down, even recently. But in this scenario, if they say, Dane, I want that house and I'm going to go buy any house they want and then turn around and sell it to them today or tomorrow or whatever, I want 20% down. And I don't really make a lot of exceptions. I'm trying to think if I ever have in recent. I think the only time I made an exception was I said, okay, if you're going to do less than 20% down, like I think they could do like 18 or something like that. I said, you're paying a PMI. And so boosted my cash flow, not only more cash flow because less down payment, but also more cash flow just because, which in my opinion is all PMI is just because. Um, so, um, so the next step is, well, I guess, have you already set that parameter with the realtor? Does the realtor know what kind of down payment ratios you want?
Um, loosely, meaning I could not exactly remember what yours were. So I think I said like, and I think I said like 15%.
Cool. It still
Uh,
works.
yeah, and then he told me essentially what we started out with was how much he could afford in monthly payments, and
Okay.
then we kind of backtracked from there and said, okay, well he can afford this month the monthly payment, so this is the house he can afford, purchase price.
Cool.
So then yeah.
Cool. So let's do this. Let's share screen. Let's see. And my favorite tool for this is Carl's with a K, Carl's Mortgage, whoops, Calculator. Carl's Mortgage Calculator. And I never remember the website because it's not carlsmortgagecalculator.com. So I just Google Carl's Mortgage Calculator, but it's drcalculator.com. There we go. That should be easy enough to remember. But Carl's with a K, that's how I usually remember it. So here's where I like to go for them. Um, just my recipe, just knowing that if they'll do 20% down on whatever purchase price we do, and then I tell them I will charge 2% above whatever my interest rate is. And so I tell them right up front. And I've noticed that because I back when rates were like 3%, I didn't say this kind of stuff. I've had to mold as the market has changed. And so nowadays I'll just say, hey, I wish I could control the rate, but I can't. Rates are just rates are whatever rates are. And really where I make my money is in a 2% spread. And so if I can go get 7, I will charge the borrower 9 or the buyer 9. If I can go get 6, I will charge the borrower 8 or the buyer 8. And so I just tell them I add 2%.
Awesome. That's what I said.
So perfect. And so do you have a ballpark price point down payment?
Uh, I don't, that's the only thing if for some reason I can't remember, but I'm going to text the agent right now and find out.
Do you know the average house price in the neighborhoods?
We're going to look around the 250 range for him.
Okay. So $250,000 purchase. Do you know what he has down payment wise?
I'm asking right now.
Cool. And oftentimes you can do the way that you're doing it and it works perfectly. Hey, how big of a down payment do you have? And in fact, you can go like this and say, let's see. And this is why I like Carl's mortgage calculator. I can click this principal button, and there's an app as well for both iPhone and Android in this. And that's where I mostly use this. So that's why this is a little unfamiliar, but you can click on principal and come back and say, okay, he has a down payment of this amount, and he can afford a payment of this amount. And so here's therefore how much property value we can afford.
I
And
know he can
so,
afford 2,000 a month. Again, like
okay.
I have other properties in this area that I do lease options with, and my experience, maybe it's a different clientele with it looking to buy, but my experience is they generally, I mean, I've had to get flexible with my down payments for my lease options, but we'll see. Maybe it's a little different.
Yeah.
Someone getting ready to buy.
Yeah. So you said 2,000 a month, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
guess that that's like gross. So that's got to include taxes, insurance, and everything. And so, let's see, expenses. Let's say $250,000 house. If I were to guess, you're a couple $100 a month. And so here, let's do this. Insurance. And you can tell me if you think it's different. And so I'm just going to say 200 and 200 because let's see, 200 times 12. Oops. That's 2,400 a year. You might actually be a little less than that in insurance. Actually, depending on the area, but on $250,000 house, I'm going to guess you're like 1,000. So let's do $83 a month for tax. Insurance, let's just leave it at 200. And so, cool. Oh, wait, is this annual? Oh, yeah, annual. I was going to say that did not change the. All right, so $2,500. Whoops. In insurance per year, and let's just say 1,000 in tax per year. All right, there we go. A little bit better. So, so here's where we see the total out the door. And so if he's got 20% down, if he's got $50,000 as a down payment, and if Tamara can go get 7% and she's going to charge 9, again, she doesn't have to follow this. There's so many ways to make money in this. It just depends on what you want your ROI to be. What do you want your cash on cash? And I choose to make sure that my cash on cash is high enough that I can do an infinite amount of deals. And what I mean by that is, sure, I could accept 10% ROI, but I would not be able to do an infinite amount of deals because it'd be hard. I shouldn't say hard, but more difficult. You're going to have a harder time. There are fewer people in the world. Let's put it that way. There's not as many people that I could say, hey, do you want to reimburse and basically bring all the cash as a cash or slash credit partner? And when we split this deal, there's not enough meat on the bone, or not as much meat on the bone if the deal is producing a 10% cash on cash. Versus if I have a 30% cash on cash, I could go to somebody and say, hey, do you want a 10% cash on cash? Reimburse all the cash needed on this deal. And so I am now in this deal none, zero, and I get all my money back. I can go do another one. And so I've just chosen that every deal I do, I want it to be sellable to a potential partner. And so that was my mindset behind the 30%. That gives me plenty of meat on the bone to go find somebody that's like, hey, does anybody want 10% cash on cash return on their money on a long-term deal that
30% down.
20.
Oh, I said 30. Okay, yeah. So the 20% will allow you to be infinite.
With my formula, yes. With 20% down payment, 2% increase of whatever interest rate I can go get, that is about the perfect recipe that gives me a 30% cash on cash. And so you can play with this and say, okay, 15% down. Let's say we still are doing a $250,000 house here. Let's go back to this payment. So $250,000 house, 15% down, that's 37.5. Technically, you're producing more cash flow than I am in the same, in the same deal, same parameters of a 2% spread and a 15% down, but the cash on cash just drops a little bit lower than the 30% that my recipe produces. And so you could do $250,000 purchase, $37,000 down, 15 or so basically a 15% down payment, still at 9% or whatever you can negotiate. And same thing, you could drop the interest rate a little bit, but this right here, this recipe, if you will, 15% down, 250, this meets his criteria of if he can do a $2,000 a month out the door payment. And this is assuming that the taxes and insurance are, that we've estimated them anywhere in the ballpark. $2,500 a year in taxes, $1,000 a year in insurance. And so here's where you can work backwards and say, okay, what is this going to produce on the back end? I'm guessing you don't have an address for us, so let's do this. New. If I enter manually, I think it's going to make me like enter lots of stuff. Let's find out. I don't usually do this manually. Property description, we don't care. Address, we don't care. Property type, we don't care. We just want to just give me the numbers. All right, purchase price, 250,000. Whoops. So let's say that you're doing a deal like mine where I actually don't get discounts. When I buy, in this model, when I say, hey, go pick any house you want. Sometimes they pick a brand new house that's never been lived in and I don't get any discount on it. Sometimes they even buy one that's like subpar, but same thing. I don't get any discounts on it. Like I just did one that was built in, it was after 2000. And so it's not like an old house, but I bought it for 700,000 800,000, and it appraised for 800,000 on the dot. And so let's just assume that you're not getting any discount here. Purchase for 250 and it would appraise for 250. Financing, let's say that you're going to do my method and borrow hard money first and then refinance immediately and do what's called a rate and term refinance. And so let's say that let's just leave it at 20%. And we can mess with this once we go. I just want to explain I want to explain why I do it the way I do, and then like I say, we can change it. So of the purchase price, you're going to put 20% down. So your buyer's putting 15, you're putting 20. Um, Interest rate, let's just say you're paying 10%. Actually, do you know your hard money cost?
Not yet. I have the lender that's going to do it, but we haven't gotten
Okay.
that far yet.
Let's just leave it at 10% because 12% wouldn't, let's say it was 12%, then it wouldn't push the needle a whole lot. Purchase cost, let's just say you're paying full hard money costs and title insurance and let's see, recording fees, endorsement. Yeah, so property insurance. We'll mess with that here in just a minute as well. All right, next. When you refinance, we're going to leave it at my default, and then like I say, I'll show you why I do it the way I do it, but I'll show you where you can change it. So let's just say that your refinance is a 75% loan to value at, we're going to play with 7% interest, 30-year term. Refinance costs, let's leave that there. Gross rent, I think we said, in fact, here on Carl's mortgage calculator, if you're going to use a software that's designed for rentals, I found that it is most useful to just put principal and interest in the gross rent and then do taxes and insurance in the other. And I'll show you why here in a minute. But let's do that. So principal and interest is $1,709.82. So let's copy that and put this into here. And then other income, let's see, I think we decided we're going to do $2,500 a year in taxes, and we're going to do $1,000 a year in insurance. I'm going to guess that you want some kind of loan servicer, escrow company, basically to track the amortization and the payoff and all that kind of stuff. Again, you don't have to. There's a lot of people who do. There's a lot of people who don't. I like to, just because it's like direct deposit to my bank account. My buyer pays them, and then the processor sends me that money and they amortize it for me. And if there's ever a payoff needed, they generate the payoff for me. So I like that. So let's see, other income, back to worksheet. Let's match the property taxes. So per year, we're going to do 2,500. And let's just leave that in the rental phase. Yes. Property taxes. Yes. And then insurance, we said 1,000 per year. Let's just leave that rental phase. Yes. Loan service. We're not going to worry about partners for now. And we obviously don't get appreciation. Technically, there's amortization. And so I just put negative 1.5%. If you, I don't really look at this nature of these sheets anyway. Income increase, I leave it there. Expense decrease, I leave it 0. And yeah, let's see, depreciation, perfect, save. All right, let's look at these numbers. So $250,000 purchase, assuming that it appraises exactly for 250 as well. You go get a hard money loan for 200,000 because you put 20% down. Oh, we forgot your buyer. So your buyer, end buyer down payment. Now on my end, because this is technically rental software and I've just repurposed it, this is a negative expense for me. So if he puts 15% down, that is negative 37, was it 250? Let's see. 37.5. So he does a negative 37,500, and oh, that's a percentage. Change this to amount. Actually, we could do negative 15%. Negative 15% of on my, because this is an expenses. There's no way to say down payment on rental software from your buyer. And so I call it my end buyer down payment. He put a negative 15%, which offsets my costs because I like to get that the day I buy it. I like to get that 37,500 the day I buy it and apply that towards my purchase. This is the reason why I like to do the rate and term refinance method, because I can apply that towards my purchase using hard money. If I was doing this where I just go buy the house via a purchase money loan, I did not do a refinance. I did not, basically I cut hard money out. I've done them this way, but I like it because I can do this with less cash needed total. If I go buy the house via a purchase money loan, I need to have the entire down payment in my bank account, have it seasoned. I have to source it. And nowadays, yes, I can do that, but when I first started, I couldn't. Um, and so I can do this with less total capital of my own by doing the method I'm showing you now. I can do, I think the most I've ever done at one time was 7 that I was in the middle of refinancing. Um, and it didn't take very much cash because of what I'm showing you. Okay, so let's leave that at negative 15% down. So on your purchase, basically, let's pretend that this is like your settlement statement. When you buy this way, you're buying the house for 250, you get a hard money loan from whoever, local hard money lender in this area. So that means you put 50,000 down. However, your buyer puts his 37.5 down. And so on your settlement statement, it shows that you bring 14,000 to the table. Okay. And so just to, just for kicks and giggles, here's what, whoops, this is why I wanted to leave it like that. So if your minimum is 20% down, here's where this looks. So negative 20%, I bring 2,000, sorry, $2,000 in closing costs. And honestly, this is probably a little bit, let's see, lender's insurance, title. Cool. Yeah, I'll just leave it like that. So, all right, we'll come back to here and say, whoops, I needed it to be in this one. All right, so your buyer has 15% down, so we're going to leave that as negative 15% as an expense, our purchase expense. So negative 15% from our buyer, or from her buyer. So you need $15,000 in your bank account. Pretend that you have 15,000 in your bank account. You buy this house and now it's 0. Actually, we need more than that, and I'll show you why here in a minute. So then you go refinance. Okay, and I love this because I buy this house for $250,000, put the $50,000 down minus their down payment. So let's say 14,000, but my end buyer is paying. So today is July. Let's say we bought this house today. I'm going to get a payment August. Let's see, June, July, August. I'm going to get a payment in August. Like a month after I buy this house, like cash flow starts immediately, a revenue starts immediately. So let's actually factor that in here really fast. Before refinance payments, and I'm going to do the gross payment in this scenario. So gross 2,149, because let's say they did the 37,000. Oh, you know what? We actually need to do the increase, which let's do that right now. Ooh, they need it to be 2,000. So here's one thing. And like I say, we might have to either do this another time or we're going to go over today. But when I sit down and give them the pitch, I basically tell them that there's 5 entities that we need to keep happy. Okay, the first is, I should probably just share this. Here, let's do this. We're gonna go over this very quickly. All right, share on your iPhone or iPad. Zoom. That should do the trick. Cross fingers. Yes. All right. Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
All right. So in fact, here, let's just grab one of my recent ones because then we can go a little faster. Oh, let's see. Jeremy. I want to do the Emily one. All right. So we went a lot deeper. And in fact, here's a perfect example. So the last two, I think I've been kind of play by playing everybody on this call even, that I just bought two basically the same day. Here was the two, and here was the pitch. And so notice that Jeremy's is a little more like I could just tell that Jeremy was like, yeah, let's just do it. Like, I'm good. Like, and I really just had to share this as like a formality to be like, hey, here's what we're gonna do really, really quick. Emily, I had to give her like from scratch. And so let's go ahead and use this one. So 5 entities that we have to keep happy. I do most of mine in Utah, and so we have to keep the Utah Division of Real Estate, DORE, Division of Real Estate. We have to keep the Utah Division of Real Estate happy. And I list out here's how we can keep them happy in seller financing types. So first of all, and I like to do the ones that they can't do first. A trust deed and note mean really the only time you're going to do that is if the house is free and clear, right? Or Utah is a trust deed state, and so we can do obviously the trust deed and note. We can do an all-inclusive. Number 2 here. Let's see. If I go like this, I can kind of draw. Oh, where did we go? There we go. So Utah is a trust deed state, so we can do a trust deed or an all-inclusive trust deed, which just means that I have a loan on the house and I will sell it to you with my loan in place. Or Utah calls it, and I used Utah's language. I don't know why it keeps moving over like that, but oh well, maybe I need to stop touching it with the pencil. Utah calls it a uniform real estate contract. Now I do tell them, in fact, yeah, I tell them right here. Nope, I didn't write contract. I know I wrote contract for deed down here somewhere. But I tell them, okay, so that's how we keep the Utah Division of Real Estate happy. Obviously, enter your state, whatever your state is. If you're a mortgage state, you'll say mortgage. And I'm guessing they have something the equivalent of an all-inclusive mortgage, or I know I've heard the term before in another state that we were doing, but basically it's like a wrap. You're wrapping the existing mortgage in, and you have another mortgage, and there's a spread. And this is the important part as to why using it like an all-inclusive is my mortgage is, let's just use easy math. Let's say my mortgage is 50,000, but I sell or finance a house and the mortgage is 100,000. Basically, I have 50,000 in equity in the note. And so that's why you use an all-inclusive, or my favorite, all in uniform real estate contract. Utah's the only state in the nation that calls it that. Contract for deed is like probably the largest general wording there. Contract for deed, uniform real estate contract, land contract, whatever your state calls it. And so I just use what Utah says in the pitch, and I'll tell you why I change it to contract for deed here in a minute. All right, so entity number 2 that we have to keep happy is the lender. If there is a lender involved, we have to keep that lender happy. AKA why I use contract for deed. And this is where I will bring that in and say, and so in fact, you can see that I drew this arrow as I was talking to Emily. So we have to keep entity 1 happy by using one of those 3. We have to keep entity 2 happy. And I will tell you right now that lenders don't like all-inclusives. I've seen them a number of times that they will trigger a due on sale clause because the title starts changing and and they see the all inclusive and all that kind of stuff. And they say, oh, whoa, due on sale. I've had them happen. I've had them actually call the note due on houses I've bought because we didn't do a contract for deed or uniform real estate contract. And so I tell them like, hey, this is how we keep the lender happiest. And I'll tell them like, hey, we don't have to do this. We could technically still do the other method. We could do an all inclusive. However, we just run the risk. And I have seen them. I have personally experienced and seen others.
Estoy escuchando una clase.
Well,
Te miraban también.
Can somebody help put that person on mute? There we go. Anyway, so keep the lender happy. Uniform real estate contract is going to keep them as happy as possible. As well as I just tell them that I personally, and this is just you don't have to copy this in any way. This is just personal preference for myself. I tell them that I don't do early payoff fees. I also don't do balloon payments. And, you know, I have a whole story around like, oh, I was talking to a gal and I was saying what my attorney told me to say, like, oh yeah, balloon payment, or early payoff, whatever. And I could just see it in her face. Like she was not going to go for this. I lost the sale the moment I lost the closing. I lost the deal the moment I said balloon payment, and I could see it in her face. I could hear it in her tonality. And so I backed way up and I said, you know, her name was Gina. I said, you know what, Gina? Tell you what, I will help you as long as you need my help. How about we do no balloon payment? And if we end up going 30 years, this house is yours free and clear. You will have the deed free and clear. Your house. If we need to go 15 years, if we need to go 20 years, if we need to go 10 years and you call me up and refinance it at that time, no balloon payment. Pay me off at your leisure. And not only did Gina like perk up, like, oh my gosh, like get excited. She was like, oh, in fact, instead of doing 60,000 down like we were negotiating, which at the time was, I think, about 20%, or no, I think it was like 15%. She says, I'll do 90,000 down, which was like 30% down. And a light bulb in my head went off at that moment. Like, how do I get big down payments? Do what I would want. Like this ranch that we just bought. I mean, I put 53% down to buy this ranch. And I'm not afraid of some balloon payment in 5-10 years. Like I put a lot of money down because I'm not worried doing that third. And so I've found that connect that people will put more money down if they feel safe and secure. And so I now say the same thing on every single pitch I do. I will help you as long as you need my help. If that means that we go 30 years, this house will be yours. I will deed you this house free and clear. You know, at that 30-year mark. And it promotes bigger down payments from people. It attracts homeowner mindset type people. Anyway, so I tell them no balloon payment, none of that stuff. But I do say, technically, I'm going to go get a brand new loan. And so there are rules that you would have to follow if you were getting a loan, just the same way I have to follow, that we cannot pay this off in 7 months. My lender would lose her commission and she would get penalties and fees. So not only would she lose her commission, but she would owe money on top of that. And I would get blacklisted. If we pay off a loan, a brand new loan that I go and get in less than 7 months, I would be blacklisted and I would never be able to get a loan again. And so I say, I don't charge early payoff fees myself, but I just say, let's just plan on being nice to my lender and make sure that this goes at least 7 months. And I've had a couple. In fact, I've got one right now. I've had a couple where they're like, yeah, we decided to sell the house. And I had gotten the loan like 4 months prior. And they're like, yeah, we're selling. I said, hold up. And I reminded them of this. And they said,
You
oh
put
yeah,
this-
we'll just
you
make
put
sure we
this in the
set
contract, right? Sorry.
what, yes, I do.
Okay.
Um, and so they ended up saying, okay. I think it was like, um, let's just use recent. It was like, oh, June 29th was the 6 month mark. Because technically it's 6 months, but nowadays I just say 7 to be like uber safe. Because they said, oh, we'll just make sure we set the closing date for July 1st. And they did, and they sold the house. I got paid back. My lender didn't get nailed, and we sold the house. And anyway, and so I just say 7 months. Let's just be nice to my lender and plan on not refinancing this or selling it within 7 months. Are you okay with that? To be nice. And I say, however, so that's just like mandatory. But most of the types of loans that I do, and this is just DSCR, if you're doing Fannie Freddie, which I would say try, maximize what you can get Fannie Freddie if you're going to do this, whether you're doing this on your own refinancing credit or capabilities, or if you're getting credit partners, they're cheaper interest rates, government backed, and in some cases easier to get. uh, if you have the tax returns. If you don't have the tax returns, obviously DSCR. But DSCR only has between a 1 and 3 year, they call it a prepay, but let's just call it early payoff. Early payoff fees on DSCR is anywhere from 1 to 3 years. Fannie Freddie, they're non-existent. You basically go that 7 months and you're good, right? And there's no difference between DSCR and Fannie Freddie. The 7 month mark, again, knowing that I've padded that, it's technically 6, but I've padded that just for safety. That Fannie Freddie 6 months or less, your lender gets dinged. They pull all of her commission back, or his or her, they pull all of their commission back and charge fees on top of that. And so technically your lender is out of pocket to do the loan that they did for you. So let's just always plan on being nice to our lenders. Okay, so we got to keep the lender happy, including our loan officer. Okay, next is HOA. I crossed this out because this house we particularly bought or were looking at did not have an HOA, but you do have to keep the HOA happy. I have had HOAs make a stink about seller financing, especially the contract for deed method. So in fact, here, if I do this, HOAs are more okay with all inclusive than they are uniform real estate contract or contract for deed. And so we have kind of a toss up here to say, okay, division of real estate is okay with these methods of seller financing. Lenders, loan officers, or mortgages, companies, lenders are okay with contract for deed. But HOAs are more okay with all inclusive. And so we kind of have to decide, okay, who takes precedence here? And I will tell you, it's lender. Because due on sale from a lender is a lot harder to overcome than an HOA making a stink of like, oh, so here was the problem I ran into. Called up the HOA secretary and said, do you guys allow seller financing? Yes or no? She said, yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. Did the deal. And then I get this nasty love letter from their attorney, like a couple months later, like, we got you. Because this particular HOA does not allow rentals. And so write that one down. Ask the HOA. And I got to figure out why this is not letting me write. Oh, we're good now. We're good now. So let's do this. HOA prefer all inclusive. However, we don't want to do that because due on sale clause. And so if we're going to do I'm going to call it CFD from now on, contract for deed. If we're going to do the contract for deed, Here's what I do. I call up the HOA and I say, do you allow rentals? And I just leave it like that. And it's because, and I'll finish my story in a minute. Do you allow rentals? Yes or no? If they say yes, green light, don't have to say anything, don't have to do anything, don't have to go down the rabbit hole of explaining anything. Rentals, yes, okay, great. Proceed, green light. If they say no, I say, may I talk to the board? Can I get a meeting with the board? I've got a unique one here. And I always pitch it as like, hey, I'm helping one of my friends. Because in my opinion, all my clients are my friends. And I'll argue that all day, every day. But I'll pitch it this way to the HOA. I have a friend who's trying to buy a house and they can't because the lender, they don't fit in the lender's box. And so I'm going to step in and I'm going to buy the house and sell or finance it to them. And we're going to do this contract for deed type of method, but they're bringing a big down payment. I know, and this is what I say, not to the secretary, because this is what got me in trouble, because the secretary was like, yeah, seller financing, great, go ahead and do it. Then I get this nasty love letter like, oh man, we don't allow rentals. You knew that, and you just tried to get cute and surpass our rentals by doing this fancy schmancy, whatever you did, contract for deed thing. And so we're going after you. They made my life very difficult for a couple months. However, my attorney was able to say, sorry, HOA, you do not supersede the Utah Division of Real Estate. The Division of Real Estate recognizes contract for deed as seller financing, and HOAs do not supersede the Division of Real Estate. And so their attorney looked like an absolute fool. And it was funny because the HOA board is just a bunch of old cranky people. The HOA board was like looking at their attorney and talking to my attorney. Oh, by the way, I brought my attorney to the meeting. And their attorney was like, whoa, 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 you didn't say you were bringing your attorney to me. Like, it was so funny. I could tell they were just trying to be bullies. Anyway, so my attorney like basically says, you guys are an idiot. Contract for deed, sorry, HOAs do not supersede division of real estate. And so then their attorney starts backing off. And I could see the HOA board members, they have no idea what's going on. They're just like looking at their attorney like, dude, get him. Like, like go after this guy. And all of a sudden their attorney's like backpedaling. Anyway, not necessary though. I don't want to have those calls because I got to pay my attorney to come and make their attorney look like an idiot. So I say, do you allow rentals? Yes or no? If yes, green light, proceed. If they say no, I get a meeting with the HOA board and I just explain to them, hey, I have a friend, wants to buy a house in your HOA, loves your guys', make them feel like a million bucks. Like you guys have got an HOA here that's like amazing. Anybody would want to live there. Great place. My friend can't buy the house, so I'm going to buy it and basically sell or finance it to them. And here's what we're going to do. Are you okay with that? This is not a tenant situation. And I tell like, I do not own any rentals because I honestly don't. And I say, I don't want to be a landlord. I'm not a landlord. And so are you guys okay with this? If this is how we do it? And the second time around that I had that conversation directly with the board, the HOA board, they're like, oh yeah, absolutely. Because I was like, dude, they're putting like 20% down. This is not a tenant. These are homeowners. These guys will be an asset to the HOA community. Anyway, and so I advocate for that. So HOA, if there's no HOA, great. If there is a HOA, those are the two questions. Do you allow rentals? Yes or no? Yes, proceed. No, please let me talk to the board, not the secretary. That's where I ran into my issue there. Can I talk to the board and explain this? Okay, next is your buyer. You need to keep your buyer happy. And so you can see I've written down a couple things here, my buzz phrases, if you will. The warm fuzzies is Emily, the buyer, they want to just feel like this is a normal transaction. They want this to feel as if they had gone to a mortgage officer. Obviously, I'm not a mortgage officer, but they want to feel like they might as well have gone to a mortgage company because they get all the same benefits. They can say, this is my house. They can change the wall colors. They can change the door. They can blow a wall out if they want it with permits and licensed and contractors. But it's their house. They want to feel like as if they might as well have gone to a mortgage company and be able to refinance me at any time. Call me up and say, Daine, I found a lender, or I've been working on my credit or whatever, and I'm ready to refinance you out. They want to feel like they have that right, that luxury, that they might as well gone to a traditional mortgage company. They also want to feel safe that the payments being received are going to the underlying mortgage payment. In fact, I just ran into this situation. Somebody called me up and said, help. That's right. It was Portage, Utah. So I just got a call from a friend of mine that's like, hey, my neighbor is paying rent. They're renting the house and they just got a foreclosure notice on the front door. So obviously the landlord is not making their payment. And so, Daine, can you help? Can you help them figure this out? Because the house is getting foreclosed on. They're paying rent. And the landlord's obviously not paying his. So your buyer wants to feel comfortable that they know that if they make their payment, your underlying payment gets paid. And so that's why I say I use a third-party escrow company to give my buyer warm fuzzies. They want to feel normal and feel safe that your underlying mortgage payment is paid. So there's no chance under any circumstance, doesn't matter what kind of hardship I am going through, that mortgage gets paid if they make their payment. And so, so Emily, you want to keep them happy. And then yours truly, myself, obviously we want to make sure that I'm taken care of. And this is where I introduce and say the two things that I can argue that I don't make money on this first one. But essentially, there's two ways that I make money on this. One is most people have felt that it's fair. Notice my language there. Most people have felt that it's fair that we do a one-time shared appreciation 10% to whatever the purchase price is. And really, like I say, I don't make money on this. Really, this goes towards my closings times 3, because there's my purchase, my refinance, and then my seller financing to you. And so I'm paying for 3 closings. So closings, origination, title, escrow fees, insurance, title insurance. So I had to pay title insurance when I bought it for the hard money lender. I had to pay title insurance when I refinanced it for the long-term lender, and I had to pay title insurance when I sold it to you. I'm paying taxes out of this. This helps offset the taxes that I have to pay. And so really I can argue that I'm not making a lot off of this. So if and how this looks is if I buy the house for $250, I add $25,000 to the back end. And most people have felt that that's fair because I'm paying all of the fees. I pay for all this, and really that comes out. So really this is like a reimbursement. Maybe I should call it that. But if I buy the house for $250, at the back end, when they refinance or if they pay it off over 30 years, or if they sell it in 5-10 years, it's as if I sold it for $275 because we add 10% one time. It's not 10%. If this house is all of a sudden worth $300,000, I don't add $30,000. It's a one-time on the original purchase price, $25,000. And so that helps offset all those costs for me.
What does that say? Shared APR. Got it.
Yeah, shared appreciation is the term the term I usually use. Because people don't want to hear fee. Like, oh, I'm going to add 10% to the purchase price. People just don't like that. And so I say, hey, 10% shared appreciation because it doesn't come out of your pocket. It's on the back end when you close, refinance, sell the house, whatever, or over 30 years. And really all it does is reimburse me for me paying for 3 closings, the origination, title, escrows, taxes, insurance, all that stuff. So I don't really make my money there. Where I do is that 2% increase. So if I go pay 7% interest, whoops, then I'm going to charge the borrower that 9. If it's 6.5, I'm going to charge 8.5. If it's 7.5, I'm going to charge 9.5. And so really that's where I'm making my spread. And so I can argue technically, and again, here's one of my buzz phrases, is I can argue that I make less money doing this deal than if I went and did a rental property. Because if I went and did a rental property, I get all of the appreciation, depreciation, the increased in rent over time. This is set in stone for 30 years. Their payment will never go up. Principal and interest. Obviously, taxes and insurance will ebb and flow. And I have actually seen them go down on a couple of mine recently, where the taxes and insurance payment portion of the payment went down. Anyway, so the principal and interest will never change for 30 years. And so I can argue that I technically make less on these deals than if I went and did a rental because of mostly appreciation and increase in cost over time. However, even if my paycheck is half as much as what it was going to be if I did this same house as a rental, my headaches are 1/10. And I will trade half the paycheck for 1/10 of the headache all day. Personal preference, yes. Because I know people that are like, Daine, you're leaving so much on the table. And I get it. But I've got dozens of these. And all I have to do is log into the bank account once a month and say, did they make the payment? Yes or no. I'm not dealing with tenants. I'm not dealing with having to find new tenants because leases expire. I'm not having to deal with toilets and roofs, leaky roofs or water heaters or any of that stuff. In fact, I've had people call me and say, like, hey, the toilets stopped flushing. Like the water won't go down. Like it's like kind of flooding in the basement, the sewer. And oh, well, you better call a plumber. And then they call me like, hey, the plumber they're going to have to dig up from the house to the street. It's going to cost $19,000, whatever it was, $17,000 to $20,000. And I was like, you better do that because you probably need to flush the toilet and take a shower. Like you need the sewer to work. And they fixed it. And so my headaches are 1/10. That'd have been a $20,000 bill. If I was a landlord, I'd have been like, dang it. Probably worse, actually. And so yeah, anyway, and I'll say stuff like that, or maybe I don't tell the story about the sewer, obviously, but basically say like, hey, I'm not a landlord. And so I will trade half the paycheck for 1/10 of the headaches because a homeowner client is night and day better than a tenant client.
Yeah, but I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
So I've been texting a little bit with the agent, and he's not clear on what down payment they have, but I'm just curious, how flexible have you been? I mean, how flexible have you been with the down payment?
Yeah, let's go back to that. Okay, so there's the 5 entities, and I tell my clients, we have to keep all 5 of these happy at all times, which means, like I said, HOAs kind of make a stink about all-inclusive, but lenders will make a stink about all-inclusive, or sorry, HOAs will make a stink about contract for deed, but lenders will make a stink about all-inclusive. And so who gets more precedent that we try to make happy? Lenders. Because they'll foreclose. HOAs will just make a stink about it. Anyway, so there's basically the pitch.
Hey, someone else had a question too.
Oh, go ahead.
It's Zoom user. So whoever's logged in as Zoom user, I saw you come off mute. You had a question. Go ahead.
They've been
Okay, never mind. Tim's got a question.
What do you mean 10%? So if I buy it for 250, I sell it for 275. Like on paper, plain Jane, like as clear as can be, like that's basically what it is. But people don't like to hear it that way. Oh, if I buy it for 250, I'm going to sell to you for 275. People are like, whoa. You're like raking me over the coals here. But if I say it the way I just said it, people are like, yeah, that sounds fair. Right? So again, to repeat, most people have felt that it's fair that I add a 10% shared appreciation to the purchase price because I'm paying for the fees. I'm paying, technically for 3 closings and insurance and it offsets my taxes and title and escrow, all that stuff. And so that gets reimbursed to me on the back end, whether it's over 30 years or when you sell, refinance, whatever. And so,
Okay. And so what you're saying
that is
is
easier to swallow
when
than.
you sell it to them. Oh, I'm sorry, Daine.
Now notice, here, let's go back to this, stop share and reshare the Safari that we were using here. So notice that if I do that now, so 275, and they only brought 37,500 down. Obviously this is going to be skewed because it's going to say 13%, but basically notice that gives us an extra $200 a month on our monthly cash flow. And so if you're going to, again, tomorrow you do whatever you want, but this just helps me offset my costs. Let's say that they refinance this next year. If I bought it for 250 and I sold it to them for 250, I would lose money because I'm out of pocket all those fees and stuff. Now you could try and say, hey, you guys pay all the fees, but it's going to be hard because the fees are kind of ongoing because you have the fees when you close the first time and the fees when you close the second time and the fees when you close the third time. And so like you're just always asking for more money out of your client. And I found that just people don't like that. If I just do a one time say, you know what, 10% is going to cover it. If I buy it for 250, I effectively sell it for 275. I still do the down payment based on the 250. So they still only bring 37.5. So, but here's what that does to their payment. It went from 17 something to 19 something. So about $200. So let's say that they go for 30 years. I'm getting that extra $200 per month just because of this shared appreciation, 10% for 30 years. And so 200 times 12 times 365. Here, let's do that. 200 times 12 months in a year times 360. No. I can just do 200 times 360 months. That's an extra $72,000.
Wait, how did you decrease
All
the
right.
down payment?
So here, let's do this. No, because it's percentage, yes. So I buy the house for 250.
I see.
I sell to them for 275, but I only make them bring 20%, or sorry, we're doing 15%. I only make them bring 15% of the 250, not the 275, because the 275 is just this shared appreciation. I added 25,000.
It's all in the language too. They still think and know that they're putting 15% down to buy this house. And Daine is correct. Yes, you are putting 15% down.
So you just, it was the spread that made that you're changing, that you bought it for 250, sold it for 275.
Correct. Yep.
Got it.
Which means now their principal balance
Is more.
more.
Yeah.
Because of that $25,000 extra, which means that their payment is slightly more as well, which also adds to my bottom line.
So sorry.
Go ahead.
So that's a way of moving things around if they have less of a down payment, essentially.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
It can be, but basically I can't advertise to them the 250 and then do 37,500 down because their principal balance is 212,500. I'm adding that 25,000 to their principal balance, which looks like it's exactly $200. And so if I say, okay, I buy the house for 250 and I go through that whole spiel of 10% shared appreciation, I pay all the fees and whatever. And most people have felt that that's fair. Like that's like the buzz phrase. It's like, oh yeah, that sounds fair because Daine pays all the fees. We do 275,000. Notice what it does to that payment. It went up $200. And so if they pay this off in 5 years, obviously, you know, I get the 25,000 back plus $200 a month for 5 years. If they pay it off in 30 years, that $200 a month extra over the course of 30 years, I think we did the math, was like 72,000. And so I make my money back, yes. However, let's say they did it in 1 year. So I only get $200 a month extra for 1 year, and I get that 25,000. I mean, I just paid 3 closings, origination from for the loan officer, the title, the escrow, the the third closing for the seller financing. I mean, I'll make some money, yes, but not a ton because I'm paying for all those extra fees and stuff. I'd probably end up making like 3% out of that 10.
I was gonna say plan on 2.5% per closing. So
Yeah.
there's your 7.5, and then there's a 2.5
Exactly.
for you as your profit for all the work. So although it looks like a big number, yeah, 3 closings.
It's really not.
Yeah. But it's safe. It's built in, and part of the lesson Dane's trying to get across is
yeah, because if I bought this for 250 and they call me a year later, in fact, I've got one right now. I just closed it middle of last year. We haven't even gone a year yet. And he called me up and said, Daine, I've been working on my credit and I think I'm going to refinance it. I was like, whoa, let me find the date of when we closed my loan. And I said, you cannot close until July because we got to hit the 7 months. And so like if he ends up refinancing, I'm not sure if he will or not, but he's trying. And so if he does that, and let's say I bought it for the same price I sold it to him for, I would be out. I would lose money, even though I've gotten cash flow for 8 months or whatever. I would lose money because I've paid for all those closings. But I'm actually fine if he sells it because I bought the house. I can't remember what I bought it for. Let's say 650, and I added 65,000 to the back end, if you will, to the principal. And so if he refinances me out, I'm going to get that big check and reimburse all my expenses, and then make a little bit, if that makes sense. And so yeah, so that's why.
Pat has a question.
Go ahead.
Good morning. Okay, so I think you just clarified it. So when you're saying you add the 10% to the back end, you just add it to the
Principal
principal. Okay,
balance, yeah.
I got it. Okay, I thought you meant like when,
Or I should say the purchase price, because
yes, the purchase price.
If I'm
That's
adding
what-
10%, but they're putting 15% down,
Yeah,
like,
okay.
so really, if I buy it for here, let's do this.
So it's calculated off of the principal, but it's added to the or it's calculated off of the purchase price, but added to the principal.
And
Yes.
sometimes you do it with the seller that pays it for too, right? It's whoever is open.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's 201. We're not going to go there today.
Okay.
So let's do this. So I buy it for 250. After the 10% shared appreciation, I sell for 275. They put 37,500 down. So their principal balance is now 237.5 because they're putting their 15% down. Okay. And so they might look at this and be like, wait a second. We're buying it for 250. I'm putting 37,500 down. Why is my balance 237,500? Like my down payment wasn't as effective. Like And so that's why I go through that spiel to say, hey, 10% shared appreciation back added to the back end. So basically I'm adding $25,000 to the purchase price minus their $37,000 down payment. And then principal balance is this. And so I think we said 9%. And then I think we were assuming that we were getting, or Tamara's getting 7. And so their payment is $1,900 plus tax and insurance. I think we said $2,500 in taxes and $1,000 in insurance. Perfect. Or did I say 2,400? I don't know. For some reason, that looks different. Let's go back to Carl's.
It was 2,100, 2,000, wasn't it? Oh, 22. Oh, wait.
Something's off. 30-year. Oh, the $30. Okay, yeah. The $30 loan service fee, which I forgot to add into the Carl's mortgage, but we could do this right here. We just put it in expense 1, $30 a month. There we go. I was like, whoa, something's wrong with my calculator. Okay. Okay. So $2,300 a month. Sorry, $2,200 a month out the door to do this. Which, I mean, might make or break, because if the realtor's like, oh, 2,000, and we say, okay, yeah, like we could get this out the door 2,200. We'll see if it makes or breaks. And so if you need it to be lower, let's say, oh, we need this house, $250,000 house. Okay, well, you can put 18% down, 19% down, 20% down, and we're getting closer. Or you can come on the back end and say that you're okay with 25% cash on cash instead of 30 or whatever. But yeah, so let's look on the back end. And sorry, this is just my quick and easy, like, so I can quote it fast. But for sake of time, let's use this for now. You can use, like I said, a rental BRRRR method software. Punch in the principal and interest in the rent, and then other income, taxes and insurance, because it's going to be a wash. Your taxes and insurance are their taxes and insurance. And, same with the loan service. Your loan service is their loan service. So, so on the back end, let's say that you're doing a loan with, let's just say Fannie Freddie or DSCR. I personally like to do 75% loan to values. Reason being, you never know what the appraiser is going to do. You also don't know what the rent schedule is going to come back at. And so I run my numbers always. Somebody name that instructor. Always. I always do a 75% loan to value, because you not only have safer equity, your payment is lower, you have better backup plans, easier to get 75%, but I had one where the appraisal actually came back low. Good job. The appraisal came back low. And so all of a sudden, if I was doing 25% down or 25% loan to value on my refinance, I was going to have to bring an extra like $40,000. And so I switched last minute and said, okay, do an 80% loan to value. And everything, we still hit our 30%. And so because I ran all my numbers, everything worked at 25. When I had something happen that didn't go as planned, and we shifted immediately to do an 80% loan to value, it still would have been a good deal, but the cash on cash would have been like 15% instead of 30, or something like that, 20% instead of 30. But because I shifted to an 80% LTV, we maintained our 30% cash on cash. So assuming that you follow that method, and again, I can change this to anything you want, that's possible. Your cash on cash is 21%. So if you buy the house for 250, you sell to your client for 275, they put 37,000 down, 37.5 down. Their payment is 22.32 a month. You go get a 75% loan to value, so you go get a loan for 187. Your payment is 1,200 a month. Taxes and insurance, like I said, are just a straight up wash. And so you're cash flowing 663. You're out of pocket 37,000 in this scenario. I think I can make this just slightly bigger. And so you're cash flowing 663, out of pocket 37. So your cash on cash is 21%. Okay, you with me there? Because their payment is 2,200, your payment is 1,500 out the door.
Yeah, amazing.
Now we can play with this and say, oh, well, what if I do an 80%? So only put 20% down. So now that doesn't change his end, your buyer's end at all. This is only changing your end. Let's say you go do a 80% loan to value. Let's see, before you were out of pocket 37,000. Now you're only out of pocket 25. And so 12, like a $12,000 less out of your pocket. Wait, where's Tamara going?
No, sorry. I'm just changing my
I'm just
air
teasing.
temperature. I'm listeling.
I was like, this is for you. So 80% loan to value. I'm sorry, I just had a joke. 25,000 out of pocket. Your payment goes up because your loan is bigger. And so your cash flow went down. I can't remember what it was. Let's go back and forth. Oops. From 663 to 580. So like $80-ish. So $80 less cash flow, but also $13,000 less out of pocket. And so now your cash on cash is bumped up to 27.7, close enough to 30. And so, because you still have meat on the bone to say, hey, Joe Schmo that wants to make, of the 4 boxes, passive investor. It's like, hey, passive investor, box number 1, you want to make 10% on your money? How about you bring $25,000 and make 10%, basically $2,500 a year, 10% on your money on a house that I already bought and pre-sold. The tenant is already, or the buyer has already been making payments and I've already refined it. This is a done deal. You put $25,000 in and you start getting cash flow next month.
And they make 10%
return.
back on that?
What's that?
How much did you say they make back on 20 if they bring 25,000?
Whatever you can sell.
Yeah.
Whatever they'll buy. And so let's say that you're like, hey, 10% on their 25,000. So you're sharing $209 a month. And so your cash flow in 580, you take 370, they take 209. You are $0 out of your pocket, none, cash flowing 370 a month. Like literally printing money out of thin air to do that.
Yeah, I think that's how I'm going to do this one.
Okay. And so you can play with this and say, oh, well, let's play with that 25%, or if I think my default is 25, so I just get rid of that. So you play with that and say, okay, yeah, the cash on cash is only 20% now. You bring a partner that's doing 37,000. And again, the 10% is subjective. You could change whatever you want here. Let's say you get somebody to do 8. But yeah, so in this scenario, yes, you're cash flowing more, but you are more out of pocket. So you go find that person that's like, hey, yeah, I'm a passive number 1 investor. I like deals being presented to me. I like to twiddle my thumbs and have deals presented to me and make double-digit returns. And so you bring that person, let's say you do the 75% LTV. 20% cash on cash. You give them 10, you're $350 a month and they're $309 a month. And so you're $25 less, but they're $100 more.
And I mean,
This is at 10%.
what if they want their money back? And do you agree in terms
Well,
of the person? You just,
yeah, well, I ask him this. Okay, 100-foot view, actually 1,000-foot view. Oh, you want to invest in real estate? You want to be passive? You want to twiddle your thumbs and have deals presented to you? What kind of a rate of return would turn your head? Oh, 10%. Okay, cool. So if I can find you a deal that you make 10% on your money, how much money you got? Oh, $37,095. Interesting. Okay, if you put $37,095 into a deal and start making 10% return, that's $309 a month. Answer me this, Tamara. How long do you want to keep receiving $309 a month?
that's a beautiful question.
If they say anything outside of forever, then I question, are you a passive investor? Do you really want what you just told me you want? And so they say, cool, look at this deal, 102 Main Street, whatever. I bought it, I sold it, pre-sold it. They brought their down payment. I've already refinanced it. They've already made 2 or 3 payments. Do you want to start making 10% on your money as soon as, well, it's July 2nd. If you want to do this today, I'll basically give you those extra 2 days. And so you get a full payment August 1st of 10, you bonus. So you bring in the 37,000 today, you'll get a full payment in August. I'll just give you those few days as a bonus. And remind me, how long do you want to make $309 a month on your money? Oh, okay, cool. Forever? Well, if they ever refinance us out, I'll find another deal for you. You get your 37,000 back. We'll go find another one. If they sell or refinance or whatever. Capiche?
Yes, I'm gonna have to, man, Daine, I'm gonna have to request that my next request is you record a freaking class. This is a lot of stuff to put together.
I'm sorry.
No, it's amazing. I mean, it took me a year, but I got it with some
I was about the same.
reinforcement.
It took me a year to finally wrap my head around this. And I like when I first was introduced to this, obviously not in this rendition, this is my own brainchild, but just the idea of contract for deed, it took me a year to wrap my head around, okay, here's how it's going to work. Here's what we're going to do. I didn't have a Daine Clark though, to, equivalent. I didn't have the me in my scenario. I had to trial and error.
So you just shortcutted it for us.
Yeah. So I'm sure you got questions, but we're 10 o'clock, so I got to get busy.
Yeah, what a bonus round we just got to enjoy. So thanks everyone for joining in. Your questions, your participation definitely improves the learning for everybody. And I just wanted to point out the quote of the day. Did you guys see that on the back office? I think it's a great thing to end on.
Yeah, and really quick, Zoom user says, Daine, what I understand, you advertise the house with the 10% added. Yes, I disclosed that from the very beginning, before we even go shopping. I talk about that 10% increase, and so it's no surprise to them. I have had some people where they're like, "Whoa, what's this? Why is this 10%? Why is this 275? We're buying it for 250, because they brushed over it." And I'm just like, oh, remember the shared appreciation thing that we talked about that, everybody's been okay with it. And I just kind of regurgitated it again. They're, oh, okay, yeah. And then they sign.
Yeah, the sooner the better.
I don't bait and switch this.
Yeah, sooner the better.
Heidi says, have you ever had to foreclose on something? No, not in this type, I've never had to foreclose on a contract for deed. And I'll tell you why. There's two of them I could have. One of them, it was a gal who was trying to cash flow it. It was she was trying to do a what do they call that? Short-term rental out by the airport in Salt Lake. And she just was always behind on payment, always behind, and finally just stopped making the payment. And so I did go through, I hired an attorney and we started going through the process. And then she like paid it all, caught everything up, and then stopped paying again. And so I just said, I told her, I know you're trying to cash flow this, and I know you're struggling. So I said, I'll make you a deal. How about you give me control of the house, AKA give me back the house. I won't foreclose on you, but if you give me control of the house, I'll do what I do best. I will sell this house on seller financing to somebody else. She wasn't even living there. And so that's partially why I was like, hey, this is going to work. And so I said, you give me the control of the house, I'll do what I do best. If I get a better payment than what you have been paying or supposed to be paying me, I will give you every dollar above and beyond what your payment was supposed to be in cash flow. Because again, I know you're trying to cash flow this. And that way you don't lose all your down payment. You don't have to sell it. You don't lose everything. And she said, where do I sign? And so she gave me the house. I hired a realtor. I only did 10% down on this one because I wanted the payment to be higher. And so 10% down, payment was higher, and she now gets direct deposit from the payment processor. And it doesn't come to me and I say to her, my payment processor receives the payment and sends it to this person every single month. And she thinks I'm the greatest thing in the world. So it didn't foreclose. Second one I'm going through right now, actually. Her husband passed away. She moved into a home and couldn't make the payment. And I told her same thing. I said, tell you what, if you give me control of the house, I won't foreclose on you. I will document your equity basically, and I will sell the house for you. You know, she's old and doesn't understand real estate. And so I just said, I will just take care of this for you. I will fix up the house because it needs a little bit of fix up. I will hire the realtor. I'll sell the house, and I will give you your equity if you just give me control of it right now. And she's like, done. Where do I sign? And so I'm selling that. I think we're closing in a couple of weeks. And so I've put money into the house to sell it, but I basically just documented everything and taken my management fee, if you will. And so I'm still making my money. I'm glad that I did a 75% loan to value in this case because my balance is accruing, and I'm making the payment, I'm making the mortgage payment, but my balance is accruing what she owes me because I'm putting money into this house, and I'm paying the realtor fees, I'm paying the all the fix up, and so I'll make my money, no problem, and I will send her a check. Or in fact, I'll just have the title company send her a check when I sell this house. And so I could have foreclosed in two scenarios, but didn't. I prefer to work with the person. If they'll talk to me, we'll figure it out.
And only two, because of the upfront due diligence. So that's why you got to watch your classes every day and prioritize your competence.
Absolutely. So yeah, great questions, Heidi and Zoom user.
Awesome.
Did I do anything else? Cool.
Okay.
Sounds
Look
good.
forward
Peace.
into growth, or you will step backward into safety. Those are your choices, folks.
Amen.
So well done. All right.
Peace.
Back to
All right,
bonus
go have
round.
conversations.
We got it. We'll see you guys next week for another round. Until then, keep having conversations. You are one relationship away from your next level of prosperity. So have a great day, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Peace.
Thanks, Daine. Bye, everyone.